and the offense is moving the ball around, then all it takes is a quick move, a quick fake, and you have taken that defender out of the play. And if you establish something other than Dirk Nowitzki, preferably in the post, and you make the pass out to Dirk and it's swung to him, even if the defense rotates to him, he's a better offensive player, because now you have a 7-footer who can fake the shot or just look at the rim and take a dribble to the left or the right and hit a shot. And the defense is not focused on him the entire possession. They now have to focus on other things, and now Dirk Nowitzki almost becomes an afterthought on that possession, and they have to rotate to him, and then he can be a better offensive player. And then when the entire offense and the entire defense is focused on him, everybody's looking at him, everybody's waiting for his move and expecting his move, so he's less effective. So they have to establish something else. So the question is, what do they establish in the post? And Dan Pierre is not going to be that guy. They're going to have to look to a guy like Josh Howard or even Jerry Stackhouse to establish something in the post, high percentage. And people say, well, why in the post? Why not on the perimeter? Why not pick and roll? Because you know what? Taking jump shots from the perimeter, doing pick and roll, that works sometimes, but in the playoffs it doesn't always work. You're not always getting good shots off the pick and roll in the playoffs. The Suns are very good at it, because if you go underneath the pick and roll, Steve Nash kills you every time. He shoots 50% from the field. If you go over the top of the pick and roll and you're a little late, then he'll find someone open. If you switch the pick and roll, then he'll do a quick post up with a guy who can pass, shoot, and dribble. And the problem with the Mavericks is they don't play that well doing that. Against Golden State, they'll switch the pick and roll, so the defenders are all the same size. So if they switch the pick and roll and Dirk Nowitzki gets another guard on him than the one that was guarding him before, he's not in any better position than he was before the pick and roll. So it became ineffective. But if they take a guy like Josh Howard and they put him in the post, and he becomes effective in the post, not just posting up every now and then, but becomes established in the post or close to the basket, 10, 15 feet away, making take a couple dribbles to the rim and making the defense rotate, then defenses will not be so keyed on Dirk Nowitzki. Now, then Dirk Nowitzki can eat lightly. It doesn't make it so difficult for him to get a plate of food on offense. Now he can eat lightly. Guys can rotate off of him and shoot the ball out to him. Josh Howard can take a couple dribbles in the lane and pass the ball, and the ball can move around, and defense can move around, and Dirk Nowitzki can get shots that way. That's what establishing something other than Dirk Nowitzki does. The way Mavericks were scoring last year outside of Dirk, it was kind of like they were getting points from other players, but they weren't establishing offensive threats. And that's the difference. It's one thing for Jason Terry to hit a shot with the shot clock running down. It's a whole other thing where defenses now have to key on stopping Jason Terry because he's been so effective. When they have to key on stopping Josh Howard because he's been so effective. When these guys get points almost by accident or just by chance, then the teams, they kind of like, oh well, all right, we'll give him that shot. We'll give him that play. But when Josh Howard is a stronger factor on offense, or Jerry Stackhouse is a stronger factor on offense, then teams have to focus on them the way they focus on Dirk Nowitzki, and that makes Nowitzki a better player. Dirk deserves some blame for last year for not performing better. He missed a lot of shots he should have hit. But the Mavericks, if they establish other offensive players, and like I said, establish, not other players score, but other players establish something on offense, then that makes defenses focus on something other than Dirk. And teams like Golden State, and even teams like San Antonio, who have players that can defend and get a hand in Dirk Nowitzki's face on his shot, that's the big deal. Because when you put big players on Dirk Nowitzki, he can drive right past them. But if you put smaller, quick, better defensive guards on Dirk Nowitzki, then he can't drive past them, and he's forced to make shots. And because these guys are athletic and long, they can get a hand in his face. Guys like Bruce Bowen give Dirk Nowitzki a lot of trouble. So if other players are established on offense, then Bruce Bowen might have to think about guarding Josh Howard. He might have to think about guarding Jerry Stackhouse, and that's what the Mavericks are going to have to do this year in the playoffs. But in the regular season, they're going to walk right through a lot of teams. They're going to have a lot of fun this year in Dallas in the regular season. But again, when they get to the playoffs, they better make some adjustments on that offense. They're going to be right back where they were last year.